We're just going to go through the homework for adding and subtracting. So this one's pretty simple. We have 11 minus 7i plus 2 minus 5i. Since I have a plus, I actually don't really have to worry about the plus sign. I'm making exotic squigglies here. So I just combine my like terms. My 11 and 2 is 13. Negative 7 and negative 5 is negative 12i. This one's a little bit trickier. What I have to remember for these is that I have to have a negative 1 in front. I have to distribute the negative 1. So when it's minus, make sure you distribute a negative 1. So once I distribute that negative 1, I lose the parentheses. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 times 2, negative 2i is positive 2i. Then I combine my like terms. 6 and negative 1 is negative 7. Positive 10i plus 2i is positive 12i. This one, the same thing. Negative 3 plus 8i minus 1 plus 8i. I make sure to put the negative 1 there and distribute. Negative 3 plus 8i minus 1 minus 8i, because negative 1 times 1. Actually, I should not have my parentheses here. So, sorry about that. Combine my like terms. Negative 4, positive 8i minus negative minus 8i is 0, so your answer is just negative 4. This one, it's distributive property. Negative 5i, 2 minus I. Multiply it out. Negative 5i times 2 minus, and then negative 5i times negative 1, or negative I. Negative 1i. That's the one thing I forgot. Remember that there's a negative 1 there. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10i. Negative 5 times negative 1 is positive 5. I times I is I squared. What you need to remember is your I squared turns into a negative 1. So this is 10i plus 5 times negative 1, which is negative 10i minus 5. I want to write it properly, so I put my negative 5 first, minus 10i. This one, I'm going to be using the box method. Okay, on one side I have a 7 and an I, on the other side I have a 4 and a 3i. It does not matter which side you put, it doesn't matter what side you put what on, okay? Just as long as the 7 and I are paired on one side and the 4 and 3i are paired on the other. 4 times 7 is 28, 7 times 3 is 21i, 4 times I is 4i, we have 3, and then we have 2 i's. 2 i's is going to be I squared. I can combine these. These are like terms. They both have I in it. So I'm going to do 28 plus 25i plus 3i squared. I remember that I squared becomes negative 1. So this is 28 plus 25i plus 3 times negative 1. 28 plus 25i minus 3. Combine my terms. 25 plus 25i. Remember, your real number needs to go first, then your imaginary. Number 6. Box again. We have quite a few of these because this is the thing that you need to practice the most. So, I have my box here. Negative 3 minus 8i, 1 minus 2i. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 2 is positive 6, and I have an I. Negative 8 times 1 is negative 8, and I have my I. Negative 8 times negative 2 is positive 16. I times I is I squared. These I can combine. So I have my negative 3 minus 2I plus 16I squared. This I squared becomes negative 1. Negative 3 minus 2I plus 16 times negative 1. Negative 3 minus 2I minus 16. Negative 3 and negative 16 is negative 19 minus 2I. Okay. 3 more. This one here is also a box. Be very careful with this. Okay, I know you want to distribute that squared, but you can't. Okay, it doesn't work out. You're going to put the same thing twice. Negative 7I on one side, negative 7I on the other side, because negative 7 plus I squared is negative 7 plus I times negative 7 plus I. So I multiply it out. Negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. Negative 7 times 1I is negative 7I. I'm going to put a 1 here. 1 times negative 7 is negative 7, and then I have an I. 1 times 1 is 1, and then I have I times I is I squared. These I can combine. 49 minus 14I plus 1 I squared. My I squared becomes negative 1. 49 minus 14I plus 1 times negative 1. 49 minus 14I minus 1. I can combine my like terms. 48 minus 14I. Another box. 3 plus 5I, 3 minus 5I. Let me just fix that. There we go. Let's use orange this time. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, and then I have my I here. 3 times 5 is 15, and then I have my I here. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. I times I is I squared. These I can combine. They actually combine to be 0. So I'm left with 9 minus 25 I squared. I'm not done yet. I know my I squareds I make into a negative 1. 9 minus 25 times negative 1. 9 plus 25, and my answer is 34. Again, disregard that. Last problem. So this is in 2 parts. I'll write it out. So you have your 5 minus 2I times 2 plus 7I minus 2I times 3I squared. Okay, I'm going to do this in 2 parts. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to do the box method for this. So I have 5 minus 2I, 2 plus 7I. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 7 is 35, and I have my I here. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, and then I have my I. Negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. I times I is I squared. I know I can combine these. This is going to be 10. And then negative 4 plus 35 is going to be negative 31I minus 14I squared. Okay, I'm going to leave that for right now. I'm going to simplify the other part. Okay, so this one right here. So first off, this 2I, well, that 3, this is times 3I times 3I. That's what that squared means. So I multiply all of my numbers. So it's going to be negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. This is going to be negative 18 times I cubed. I'm going to simplify that. Negative 18 times I squared times I. Okay, and we can simplify that, but I know I can make this I cubed into I squared times I. Okay, so right here I have minus 18 I squared times I. I can change all of my I squareds. All of my I squareds need to be changed to be negative 1. So I have 10 minus 31I minus 14 times negative 1 minus 18 times negative 1 times I. I multiply everything out. 10 minus 31I, this is a tough one, plus 14 plus 18I. I then combine my like terms. 10 plus 14 is 24. Negative 31 plus 18. Actually, it should be negative 31. I apologize. That should actually be a positive 31. Sorry. This should be a positive 31. Positive 31 plus 18 is positive 49I. And I know that was distracting. I apologize.